Hello and welcome to 7 Days. Sky News Actives look at the lightest stories from the last week. Coming up on this edition, In a Spin, the dogs learning to look good on the dance floor. Triple Trouble, these white-line cubs make their debut in Germany. And meet the sheep who thinks he's human. But first, there aren't many people who can say they've stuck their arm in a shark's mouth and lived to tell the tale. But one vet in Australia has done just that. Henry Ridgwell has the story.
Faced with a set of gnashers like this, most people would turn and run for the hills. But this is Australia, and this is a critically endangered grey nurse shark. The rare adult female bit off more than she could chew and swallowed a steel gaff hook. For 2 weeks, she swam the waters of Byron Bay with a mouthful of metal, until local wildlife expert Trevor Long managed to lasso the giant and guide her to shore.
I got that job. It was a short straw situation. I was just unlucky.
Not quite as unlucky as vet David Blyde, who lowered his bite-sized arm into the shark's jaws, armed only with some plastic piping and a dose of Aussie humour.
As a veterinarian, you often end up putting your hands in places that people find somewhat unattractive.
A full 45 minutes later, the hook was freed. The shark and the vet safely returned home. Henry Ridgwell, Sky News.
Elsewhere in Australia, another animal has had a very lucky escape. This koala cheated death after being hit by a car at 60 miles an hour. The marsupial got stuck in the vehicle's grille and was driven for 7 miles before a woman alerted the oblivious driver.
All I could see was a koala's bottom and his legs hanging out the grille of the car. And I told the lady, excuse me, but you need to hop out. You have a koala stuck in the grille of your car.
The koala, nicknamed Lucky, hung on during his ordeal with one arm and his trapped head. He was freed with a pair of scissors, which cut around the car's mesh grille. These white lion cubs haven't had the chance to get into too much trouble. They've just had their first outing at a German safari park. The 6 cubs, who are just over 2 weeks old, were born to 2 different mothers who are twin sisters. The zoo is delighted at the arrivals, especially as white lions are threatened with extinction. Another young animal facing the public for the first time is little Anton. The baby sea lion was born at Cologne Zoo in Germany just over a month ago. He's proving not only a hit with the public, but with another female sea lion who wants to adopt little Anton. Zookeepers have had to keep the baby cub and his real mother separate from the other keen female. These dogs all seem to be getting on rather too well. Brought together by their love, or rather their owner's love of dancing, the pooches in Tokyo attend regular doggy dancing lessons, and where they can waltz, polka and even foxtrot. While some have a natural flair for the art, others were less enthused by the lessons, opting for the easy option instead. On to some far less active animals now, and these impressive sculptures have been brightening up the beaches of Weston-super-Mare. Made entirely of sand, artists from around the world have turned 360 tons of the stuff into some of the world's best-known landmarks and faces. They're all part of this year's Sand Sculpture Festival. They'll remain on show until the end of August. Thailand has also been showcasing some of its artwork. The Grand Wax Festival is held to mark the annual 3-month rainy season. 53 wax sculptures paraded through a small Thai province alongside traditional dancers and musicians. The artists spend months designing and sculpting the ornate designs, which are made from beeswax and would make some very long-lasting candles. These structures would take significantly less time to go up in flames. The Scottish artist David Mack has carved out his own niche in the art world by making sculptures from matches. His speciality is making match heads, and he appears to be making a good living out of it. His 2-foot-high sculpture of Elvis sold for £18,000. But not all his pieces stay around for long. Mack also enjoys setting them alight and watching them burn. Still to come on this edition of 7 Days, dirty driving, the rural race where anyone can get muddy. But first, it's an estate agent's dream, a traditional Dutch-style thatched cottage built in 1621, but in very good order and available for just £75 a week in rent. But there is a catch. Ruth Liptrop went for a viewing.
Council houses aren't usually the stuff of fairy tales, but this one definitely is. The Dutch house in Rayleigh in Essex may be Britain's smallest council property, but it's surely the prettiest. And get this, it's available for rent for only £75 a week. There's just one catch. Whoever gets it must also open the doors to the public every Wednesday. Anne Jolly lived here for 20 years.
So, Anne, what do you know about the place then?
Well, as you see, it is a most remarkable cottage. The date over the door says 1621, but we don't really know how accurate that is.
It's gorgeous. What was it like living here, though? Was it a bit of a pain to have people round once a week?
No, in fact, we used to enjoy it because we had all sorts of very interesting visitors, descendants from the large Victorian families who'd lived here in earlier times, people from all over the world.
The house is surprisingly comfortable. There's a brand new fitted kitchen and even somewhere to hang your clothes.
Storage.
And it's more spacious than it looks. A family with 9 children once lived here.
So tomorrow, what kind of person are you looking for to take this on then?
We'd like someone who really is passionate about the heritage. This is a cottage that was left for the people of Rayleigh to show visitors. So it needs to be someone who really is interested in history, but who is also flexible enough to show people around what is their home.
Ruth Liptrot, Sky News.
From one of the smallest houses to the smallest hotel now, and at just 53 square metres, this guest house in Bavaria claims it's the smallest in the world. The hotel was built in 1728 when the space between 2 buildings were walled in and covered with a roof. It's called the marriage house because in days gone by, couples had to own property to get married. This little home was passed from couple to couple so they could get hitched. Now, after a recent refurbishment, the hotel, which attracts honeymooners from all over the world, is once more open to guests. This group of swimmers certainly wouldn't be able to fit into a hotel. 450 bathers from all over Siberia have taken part in this year's mass swim, which saw participants race across one of the region's largest rivers. The 3-kilometre swim is made worse by a strong current and frosty temperatures, but for many it wasn't the end result that mattered, but simply the pleasure of taking part. Pure enjoyment seemed to be the only motivation behind this race. Owners of agricultural machines in Germany have taken part in the 10th single-axle race. Rules for the event are pretty simple. The vehicles have to have their original engine. And one thing's for sure, you're definitely going to get muddy, even if you're just watching. These more sophisticated vehicles have set off on a 21,000-kilometre journey from Greece to Beijing to arrive in time for the Olympics. More than 50 motorists from all over the world have embarked on the trip, which will see them planting olive branches along the way and carrying their own peace flame. They'll be passing through 16 countries as they travel on the old Silk Road. Here's a more environmentally friendly event. The 21st annual British Pedal Car Grand Prix saw 36 teams compete against each other in their human-powered vehicles. The teams of 4 have to race around a 1-kilometre track in the 2-hour endurance race, where stamina is essential. Drivers have to negotiate tight bends at high speeds, skills that some hadn't quite mastered. This year's race raised about £15,000 for charity. And finally on this edition of 7 Days, his name is Nick. He enjoys taking trips out in the car and he spends the evening sat in front of the telly. Oh, and by the way, he's a sheep. Sky's David Crabtree went to meet the animal who set up home with a Welsh family.
A man's best friend. In this case, a 22-stone TV-loving sheep named Nick Boying, apparently because of his bouncy personality.
We don't spoil it. Well, we do spoil him. He comes in and out of the house whenever he wants, really, but usually in the evening time he's in, lying where he is now, watching TV with me. We take him, well, he doesn't go upstairs anymore. Those days are stopped because he can't come downstairs.
David Palmer found Nick as a newborn at a nature reserve. He was sick and had been abandoned by his mother.
We took him home. We got some blue top full cream milk inside him, and within an hour he was jumping about and running around. We tried him in one place, a small holding that keeps goats and pigs, and he hated that. He was there for several weeks and he didn't like it. So we had him back from there and we thought, that's it, we're keeping him.
At night, Nick retires to his own room in the garden, complete with carpets and windows. And he enjoys going for walks and doesn't need a lead. But most of all, he likes to jump in the car and pop along to the shops with his owner, perhaps to help find him some bargains. David says Nick doesn't know he's a sheep, and he doesn't want to be one. He says it's far more intelligent than your average sheep. David Crabtree, Sky News, Cardiff.